Hi, everybody. It's Coach Jordy here from triathloncoach.ca and the Ottawa Swimming Club. Today, we're going to be looking in depth at the activation set that we use to activate, but also, especially initially here, we're going to look at how it can be on its own a comprehensive strength workout. 13 exercises. It helps to activate and recruit all of the major movement patterns and muscle kinetic chains. So first exercise, rectus abdominis. We're doing crunches here. So you're going to lay down, and the options are, typically when we activate, we're doing 5 reps, as you'll see in the follow along video. Your first option, of course, is to do more reps. So if I'm doing a strength workout and using the activation lineup set, I'll do 10 to 15 reps. The next thing is the hand position. So your easiest hand position for a crunch is at your side. Next is across the chest. Next is above the chest. And then we can start to get it back and really load with your hands back further. We always want to make sure we have an apple under the chin. So my preference is hands, and that's what I'm going to use, hands above the chest. So let's do 5 to 15 crunches. Pushing the chin towards the ceiling, not bringing it down. Pausing at the bottom, try not to rock. Good. Next, we stay with the core, but now we start to look at the transverse abdominis and the core as it relates into the hip flexor compound here. So we're going to put our hands under our hips just to elevate them a little bit, and we're going to do scissors. Same thing goes here with the number of reps. So when I'm activating, I'll typically do six movements. But if we're doing strength, then we can go 12 to 16 because there's 2 legs. We need to be an even number. But there's another option. When doing it as a strength workout, your primary movement is a big one. And really pulling the stomach in. So, for example, you can start now, if you're following along with this, and doing 6 to 10 of these, pausing at top and bottom, keeping that stomach drawn in. Now your options, if you're uncomfortable doing a big range of motion, you can do a smaller range of motion. But as you get towards the end of your set, if you're strong and you're ready for a challenge, you can start to increase the rate of movement. So here's our scissors. Straight into a glute bridge. With the glute bridge, it's the principal option is the number of reps. So we're going to pull the heels in, but I will show you one option. Pull the heels in and lift the toes. That way we maximize the glute activation. Another little tip here is to put your fingers into the glutes, feel them, and help them to activate. So roughly a fist distance between the knees, and we're going to lift the hips, push them up, squeeze those glutes, feel it with your fingers, and down. Again, 5 to 15 repetitions. Your principal option is more reps. Your secondary option is to do single leg, one of 2 options. 2 up, 1 down, 2 up, 1 down, or 1 up and 1 down. So there's an option there to increase the load and the challenge of the glute bridge. But I'll be honest with you about the glute bridge. I always just do the double. It's so important to activate those glutes. So really, really focus on a quality activation and movement pattern when you're actually doing it as a strength set as well. We're going to turn on our side now for the adductors. Head rests on the arm. We're bracing with the top leg, and we're lifting the bottom leg. No option on this one other than reps. So let's do 5 to 10, but go up and pause at the top and bottom. You'll also feel a stabilizing activation on the non-active leg. And then we roll over onto the other side. We're feeling it on the adductor group. 5 to 10 is usually good, but of course you can go more if you want. I suppose one option is you could add an ankle weight, one of those ankle weights that wraps around your ankle. Okay, up to the, or around to the back now. First exercise we're going to do is a back extension for the erector spinae. And we've got some options here. First of all, of course, the number of reps. But first of all, let's talk about the muscles. Erector spinae, right down there. I really want you to think about the muscles you're using, whatever exercise you're doing, especially this one. So your hand position, basically what we're going to do with our eyes down, we're going to lift the shoulders and then down, activating and loading those lower back muscles. I prefer to have my hands at my side so I can really focus on a good quality movement. But that is the easiest load as far as position goes. If you bring your hands out to the side, it'll load it more. You extend them above the head, it loads them more. But often those other positions with the extra load start to limit the range of motion. So I always prefer and advise to opt for a bigger range of motion when you're doing it. So let's go 5 to 15 back extensions. Always pausing top and bottom of the movement to introduce inertia and challenge the nerves. Next, for the scapular muscle, we have a VTW movement. In this case now, this is another exercise where really I prefer that you don't load it, that you just add more reps, because range of motion and activation will give you the load you need if you do enough reps. Forehead is down in this one. Another variable that you can introduce with the VTW is how long you hold it for. So I don't want you to just lift and go down. I want you to hold it for at least 1 second. But in today's case, let's hold it for 3 seconds and really focus on those scapular muscles tightening. So head down. V, lift, and down. E, lift, and down. And W, lift. We're going to go through that 3 times. T, W, V, T, W, which sets us up perfectly for push-ups. Number of reps, big option, but we have some very important options, 3 important options as far as our position goes, because we do not want to overload the push-up. We want a good quality movement pattern. Option 1 on your push-up is to bend at the waist. Our arms are the same movement in each case. So the elbow doesn't go straight out, elbow doesn't go straight back, it goes back roughly at a 45-degree angle. So you can bend at your waist, keeping that transverse abdominis pulled in. You can have a straight line pivoting from your knees, or you can do a full military push-up. When you come up, don't lock the elbows. Push up to a point where the elbows are just what we say is call it soft, slightly bent. And let's go for a push-up of your choice of those 3 techniques, and we'll do 5 to 10 push-ups. Of course, you can mix the techniques or the positions. Good. That brings us to our plank. Really key isometric movement for the core, but we're going to add a little movement into it as an option, all right, as an option. So plank, similar plank options, similar to the push-up. We don't have a bend at the waist one, but we have 2 options. So we can plank pivoting from the knees, or we can do a full plank. I prefer to do it off the elbows as opposed to a straight arm, because we've just done push-ups. We've loaded the chest and loaded the shoulders enough. So let's just focus on core strength is my suggestion when you're planking. So the additional option here is to lift 1 foot. And this is how I count as well, how long I do a plank for. So I will do 6 to 10 foot lifts. And this is very challenging. If you're doing a knee push-up, you can just lift your knees. Or if you're doing a full push-up, you lift the foot. So choose your option, and let's do 6 to 10 knee or foot lifts in a plank position. With that foot position, if you're doing the full plank, the wider your feet are, the more challenging it is. Next is a side plank. I didn't used to include this in the activation set. In fact, the activation set, I can tell you, has evolved over the years, certainly. It used to be 10, now it's 13, but I think I'll hold it at 13. So side plank, 2 options here. Your initial option, easier option, is with the bottom leg bent. You can see it there at a right angle. So we're pivoting off of 1 knee and 1 foot. Hips are forward, nice straight line down through the body. An additional option is to elevate your hand. And then a tertiary option, are we on 3, maybe more, is to add a little bit of oscillation in, bringing that hand forward and back. So this same option would be present in the full plank. So stacking the feet or offsetting, come up, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Otherwise, you can just hold it down and just count to 5, between 5 and 10. Bring it down, we'll switch to the other side. I really like the oscillation. In fact, I'm not oscillating hard because I always do the oscillation. the oscillation forces the body to stabilize in this difficult position. All right. That is all for our floor work. So let's stand up and we're going to do 5 exercises for the legs. Starting with a squat. Reps, certainly an option. Always doing a good quality movement pattern. Trying to do as full a range of motion as you can. If you can load it with a dumbbell or with any kind of weight and continue to do good technique with a good range of motion, then you can load it. So for example, you can grab a dumbbell and do a goblet squat. So we're looking for feet nice and wide, toes pointing out, transverse abdominis pulled in, neutral back. We can go down a little bit and up, but we're always thinking about the back. What we do not want to happen in any kind of a squat is what we call a butt wink. We don't want that to happen. We want this neutral. In fact, that line here in my shirt almost represents it. We don't want the butt wink. Keep it all straight and do 5 to 10 squats, pausing at the top and the bottom. Only go as far as you can go, maintaining that posture. What too often happens is people try to go deeper, but they do so, in doing so, they do the butt wink and they lose their posture. So as you go down, as you come up, hold that stomach in, that transverse abdominis. And when you come up, make sure to push the hips all the way through. Don't stop in a bent position. All right, so a squat. Next, for the posterior chain, we have the single leg RDL, Romanian deadlift, or as we call it here, a tippy bird. So standing with a chair or wall to check your balance, because the movement pattern is the priority, not the fact that you're balancing. So something that can check your balance. What we're looking for here, throw side on a little bit. Supporting leg is slightly bent. Nice straight line from the head to the rear foot. Then we're going to tip over a little bit, 45 degrees perhaps, and then come up. If you can go a little further, comfortably, with good posture, then you can go a little bit further, almost to horizontal, and then up. What you have to strive to do is we want to avoid any external rotation. So we want to try to have our butt flat as we go down and when we're in the down position. So as an example, I'll show you from the back. That would be externally rotated, and that would be flat. That's our goal. Okay, it's hard. It's very challenging to get that flat butt. I want you to imagine that somebody could put a tray of tea on your butt and it would stay there, not slide off. So let's do 5 to 10 single leg RDLs. Again, you can vary the range of motion, going a little deeper or a little higher. Another little tip on a single leg RDL is to keep this foot out to the side. Don't let it swing behind you. It's a sure way to throw your balance off. Pause the top and bottom. Make sure that knee is bent as you go down, and then it can straighten as you come back to a standing position. But bend it again as you go down. In sports and conditioning, that exercise is considered one of the top exercises. I love it, and it's so important, so key. It does so much for us. So other leg when you're ready. Five to 10 repetitions. Keep that foot wide. Good. Next, we have our lateral leg lift. So we did an exercise on the floor where we lifted the leg using the adductors. Now we're doing the abductors. So hands are on the wall, hands are on the wall, arms are locked. You can do this with a 45-degree torso, or you can challenge yourself by going down towards horizontal. That's the furthest down you go is horizontal. You want to push the butt out so the legs are vertical. Regardless as to your angle of your torso, I want the legs vertical. There is a tendency for the hips to come in. So keep them pushed out, keep your elbows locked. And from here, we lift straight to the side with our toes still pointing at the wall. This is a hard exercise. If you can do 5 consecutive ones on each side, and then maybe go back to the first side and try a couple more. You do not need to load this with weight, that's for sure. Comfortable range of motion. I usually do it at the horizontal torso, and I can tell you, I don't think I've ever done 5, 5, 5, 5, so 10 on each side. For the lower legs, we'll do an eccentric calf exercise and soleus exercise. We're going to, so if you look at my feet, I'm going to come up on both toes. Then I'm going to lift one foot, and I'm slowly going to descend, bring the heel back down, and I'm going to go back up with 2 and down with 1. And we'll do this 5 to 10 times. This exercise, because the lower leg is typically, it's a weak point with a lot of people. Yes, you can easily load this by holding a dumbbell, but honestly, it's another exercise I'd really prefer if you did more reps of instead of loading it. So other side when you're ready. Go down slowly, eccentric loading of the muscle, which has been shown to have a huge benefit, especially for runners. Good. Now, final exercise is a split squat. Before I do it, I always stretch my quads because quads and hip flexors come in here. We've got some blood going. We're warmed up and activated for the most part. Very powerful movement pattern, lots of good muscles, strong muscles. You can load this one with a dumbbell or 2 dumbbells. I prefer 1 dumbbell though, because that gives you the stability challenge. So if you're doing, say, 10, I want a light dumbbell here. Okay, we'll go with an 8 pound. If you're doing 10 reps, for example, first of all, don't load it until you can do 10 reps on each side. Once you can do 10 reps on each side, then load it and switch hands halfway through. So you go down, do 5, continue, and for the next 5, switch it over to the other hand, creates an imbalance. The technique we're looking for here couple things. First, the knee should stay stacked over the front ankle. So we don't want to shoot that knee forward. We want it to stay stacked. So my tip here is to focus on dipping the back knee. Just dip it down a little bit or a lot. It can go all the way to the floor or less. 5 to 10 repetitions. And then we'll switch it over. Keep the weight evenly distributed. Focus on pushing your rear toe down to ensure that there's a muscular load back there and power is coming out of the rear foot as well as the front. So there is your activation set, 13 exercises with a whole bunch of options that can turn it into a very, very comprehensive and effective strength workout.